Hello all. From this video, we are starting our backend series. In this series, we will be learning about backend technologies like Node.js, Expressjs, mongoDB and more. So, are you ready to dive into the fascinating world of backend development? So, let's get started. In this lecture, we will be discussing about the introduction of Node.js and the importance of server-side scripting language in full-stack web development. Let's start with the definition. Node.js is an open source platform JavaScript runtime environment that executes JavaScript code outside a web browser. If you closely observe the first line here, you will see here it is written that it is an open source software. That means you don't have to pay anything to use Node.js in your web applications. You can use it entirely free. It is also a cross-platform software. This means the user is not limited to any operating system like Windows, Linux, etc. for using Node.js. You can use Node.js in any operating system. You can use it in Windows, Mac, Ubuntu, Linux, etc. It is a runtime environment, means that executes the JavaScript code outside the web browser. Now, what do you mean by outside web browser? That means it can be used for performing server-side operations. So outside browser means server-side and inside the browser means client-side. Let's discuss the advantages of Node.js. First, it is a single-threaded. It is based on event-driven non-blocking I/O model. It is perfect for building fast and scalable data-intensive apps. We can use JavaScript across entire stack. So it will make it easy for us to develop the web application. We don't have to learn any other programming languages for backend. Node.js has an active development community. Now let's understand Node.js and its work in full stack web application. Let's understand the use of Node.js in full stack web development with a real world example. Consider an application where you are building a login system. Usually every web application will be having three common things, that is the front end, back end and the database if it is a full stack web application. If it is only a static website, then it will have only front end. Here Node.js is used for building the backend web applications, means full stack web applications. That's why here also we'll be considering the full stack web application, which is called login system. Now let's see the example. So to develop the user login system, first we will build the front end. In the front end, we are having form with two fields, username and a password. After clicking the register button or the send button, it is expected that these values should be sent to the database for storing the values. So when the user enters his username and a password value, then the user will click the send button or the register button. Then these values should be stored in the database, like in a table or in a key value pairs. We have to send the request to the database that please store this value in our tables, key value pairs, etc. Now we build the front end using Vanilla.js, React or other frameworks like Angular, or we can use any random framework. But what exactly the problem is, we cannot communicate with the database with the help of front end, or we can call it as a client. So there is no communication between a client and a database. A client cannot communicate directly with the database. So we use Node.js for bringing communication between client and database. In between the client and database, we will use any one of the server-side scripting language like Python, PHP or JavaScript using Node.js. Here we will be using the server-side scripting language as JavaScript with the help of Node.js as a runtime environment. So after clicking the send button, we have to send that values to the node and it will validate the values, perform server-side operations, and this Node.js or Expressjs will take the responsibility to send that values to the database. Again, Expressjs is just a Node.js framework which makes our life easy as a backend developer. So first the client will send the request to the backend. Node.js validate values and pass this request to the database. So this will send the request to the database to store these values which are came from client side or front end. So the database will store these values, username and password, and the database will send the response to the Node.js that whether the registration is successful or not. Now again, it cannot send the response directly to the client, as a client and database communication cannot happen directly. We have to use any one scripting language, so the database will send the response back to the Node.js whether the request is successful or not. Hence the Node.js and Expressjs will receive the response from the database and it will send that response back to the client whether the registration is successful or not. So here in between the client and database, the Node and Express will be playing a crucial role for server-side operations here. Whatever the code you write in the Node is called as REST API, and we can call Node.js as it is used for building REST APIs. We'll further discuss about what is exactly REST API in upcoming lectures. The advantages that we get by using Node as a backend is that we don't have to learn any other technologies for backend like PHP, Python, Ruby, etc. We don't have to learn any other programming language besides JavaScript. You can learn only JavaScript and you can develop the web application with JavaScript in front end as well as backend. That's it for the lecture. If you have any queries, then please comment it below. I will try to resolve that issues or address the questions. Thank you.